Today is a day of rejoicing. According to Fox News, 32,000 babies have been saved from abortion as a result of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, there's some cynics online who are quick to jump into the fray and suggest, well, how do you know that these babies have been saved? Where do you get this information from? And yes, it is true that you can't necessarily chart whether or not Roe v. Wade and its overturning is responsible for these babies being born per se. But what we can say is that the birth rate has increased exponentially since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and conservatives like myself can't help but do a little bit of math, and it's not too difficult to get that algebra going and realize that when you overturn a codified law that creates a federal mandate for people to be able to have abortions, and you get rid of that perhaps that murderous policy being done away with might actually produce more life, and in this case, more births. So it doesn't seem too much of a stretch to suggest that the increase in birth rate is a direct result as a result of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And that's caused a lot of people to get really angry online and make morally benighted arguments like this. Well, we better see a commensurate adoption and foster rate to go along with that birth rate, as though it were not an intrinsic good to save the life of a baby in and of itself without seeing any of those other statistics, because protecting human life is worth it in and of itself. But it's also ridiculous because pregnancy resource centers around the nation are way less funded than Planned Parenthood by your tax dollars, and do way more for babies and parents, and actually do Planned Parenthood than Planned Parenthood does. So needless to say, Christians have been on the front lines of protecting life, and today is a day of rejoicing because life has been protected. And now, much to the chagrin of other haters online, part of that credit goes to Donald Trump, who helped get Supreme Court justices in place that would overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, I know there's other things that go into this, but it is undeniable that Donald Trump does play a part and is responsible in part for this day of rejoicing. Now, this specifically is difficult to admit for the progressive Christian community and their other lackeys, like those over at the Holy Post. If you don't know who the Holy Post is, it is a group of washed-up Christians, Phil Vischer in particular, who is from VeggieTales fame, who produced a video back when Donald Trump was getting elected to be president, his first term. They produced a video suggesting that you Christians shouldn't be single-issue voters, and you shouldn't just vote for Donald Trump and forget all of his other morally egregious behaviors just simply because he may overturn Roe v. Wade. And the argument went something like, Roe v. Wade being overturned really won't save that many lives. Now, I want to refresh your memory of this video because I think it's very important for us to analyze here today. So here is that.
For almost 50 years, Christians have been told that who you support for president will either save or sacrifice the lives of unborn babies. This has led a lot of pro-life Christians to become single-issue voters, willing to overlook everything else about a candidate as long as they're against abortion. When a candidate's bad character or unchristian policies are brought up, the response is often, yeah, but abortion. The argument looks something like this. My vote determines the president nominates justices to the Supreme Court can overturn Roe v. Wade, and overturning Roe will make abortion illegal and save babies. Let's unpack what's wrong with this argument and why your vote for president might not impact abortion the way you think. We've learned that despite 11 conservative, Republican-appointed justices on the Supreme Court, for the last 50 years, the court has only upheld rather than reversed abortion rights, and that's unlikely to change. And even if the court did overturn Roe, it would have very little impact because abortion was widely available before Roe, and it would be after.
Now, if you're a pro-life Christian and you know that Phil Vischer and his buddies are pro-life, you went away from this video scratching your head wondering, how in the world, in a world where logic exists, does this video make sense? How are you actually piecing together the idea that you should be fighting for the removal of Donald Trump and fighting for Hillary Clinton, the person who is basically like Can we murder them when they're 15? I mean, who says we can't murder people just whenever we like it? I mean, they are the Clintons after all. Obviously, the implication is don't vote for Donald Trump, vote for somebody else. Well, the only other candidate really was Hillary Clinton, and no Christian in their right mind who considers themselves pro-life, as these guys do, could actually do that with a good conscience. And let's also not neglect the fact that they were totally wrong in everything that they said. Look, I know if you were a progressive Christian, you walked away from that video super happy that we get to continue killing babies and we don't get to vote for that evil Donald Trump. Now, I know you shouldn't hate somebody like you hate Donald Trump and consider yourself a good Christian, but Phil Vischer and his lackeys do it. Nonetheless, if you're a Christian conservative who actually believes what the Bible says, you walk away from that video and you wonder, how can these guys really consider themselves pro-life and argue like this? So let's just dig into the argument for just a moment. First off, they make the claim that single issue voters are kind of missing the boat. And you shouldn't overlook Donald Trump's mores and moral issues just because of this single issue. Well, I'm happy to announce to you that there is a single issue that demands your attention, and it's the issue of life. And if you're serious about this issue, you can save lives. And secondly, not only by promoting this single issue, but by promoting presidents who actively want to overturn bad case law like Roe v. Wade, which, by the way, Ruth Bader Ginsburg also said it is total fallacious Supreme Court law. If by endorsing those kind of candidates, you actually are doing something, because Donald Trump put Supreme Court justices in place that overturned Roe v. Wade, and as a result of it, tens of thousands of lives have been saved. So thankfully, Donald Trump was placed in office much to the chagrin of these guys over at the Holy Post. Third, and maybe finally, this goes back to the whole idea that Republicans can't win if they endorse this issue. Aren't there other issues? Can't we win on other issues? Why do we have to keep on, shooting ourselves in the foot? Because largely people want some form of abortion because of rape and incest and all of that kind of stuff. Without going into the total nonsense argument of rape and incest and how those things don't really work in a moral world, let me just say this. Being pro-life is a winner, and it was a winner for these kids. We don't win when we retreat and we don't actually fight for life. But the more we fight for life and the more we expose the left and their horrible arguments as it surrounds the issue of abortion, the more we actually actively stand up against those things and fight, the better off our world will be and the better babies will be protected. We can win if we fight effectively. So a while back, people considered gay marriage a losing issue, and that Christians, they couldn't overcome that bigot tag that would be placed upon them. And so, slowly but surely, we saw marriage changed in our nation. Now, in our time, also something else has happened. Transgenderism and transgender surgeries for minors has been an issue of contention. And of course, the same tactics the left used for gay marriage, they were using for this issue. Well, people are going to kill themselves if you don't let them cut their testicles off. And obviously, you're a bigot if you don't believe that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. Do you really think that men can't menstruate? Only a bigot believes those kind of things. And so what we did this time was different, though. Many conservatives withstood that and said, this is ridiculous. And no, it's not true. And all around America, conservatives stood up and started fighting for the issues. And it emboldened political candidates and people in political office, because they saw that their constituents were actually willing to produce a backbone on an issue. And as a result of it, in many states in America today, now you cannot castrate a small child simply because they wore a dress one time when they were 4. You cannot transition socially a young girl with puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones simply because she likes to play baseball. Suffice to say, kids are being protected in many places all around America today because conservatives took a stand. And the same thing is true of the life issue. It's a winner if Christians and conservatives get a backbone, if we'll actually fight for this issue. If we take the cowardly position of the Holy Post and essentially do yeoman's work for Hillary Clinton in her campaign, we will absolutely see the same thing we've always seen. Our political actors doing nothing to change society and not doing what is in the best interest of small children who can't defend themselves. Now, I hope all of that proves that the Holy Post was 100% wrong in everything they said in that video. But look, I'm not going to hold my breath looking for a full retraction from these guys, because I think that that might be the death of me. And after all, I want to be consistently pro-life. But what we can do is we can resist foolish arguments from progressive Christians who want to take foolish positions, and we can stay firm on what we know to be true. And if we do, lives will be changed and saved. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go with God.
So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.